Because I haven't seen anybody like different in so long. I've just been like at work and at home.
Right. You're like, human.
I know. The other day I shook somebody's hand and I was like, I don't know if this is right, but it feels so good.
Right. Seriously.
All right, everybody. Welcome to today's Into the Industry. And it is going to be a good one because it is going to be a trainer to trainer chat. So it's going to be a discussion, not a debate, but it should be interesting. And I'm really excited to see what my good friend Sammie has to say. So Sammie is someone that I worked with when I worked in the vet industry. She has an epic reel of credentials as well as experience across the board. So that's vet tech. She graduated from PCC. She worked at a doggy daycare, and she is now doing her training part of her journey. So I am so curious to hear about how your journey has kind of led you there. So go ahead and just tell us about graduating from vet tech school and then dabbling in that, and then where was the choice to kind of switch over? Are you still doing that? And just tell us about where you're at now.
Yeah, so currently I'm one of those people, I'm kind of a entrepreneur at heart, so I do like to dabble in a lot of different areas, especially when it comes to the animal field. I'm extremely passionate in many different areas in this industry, so I do like to dabble kind of here and there with everything, but I am still currently a practicing CVT,
cool.
Or veterinary nurse for people who don't know what that is. So I do that part-time currently, and then I also run a full-time pet care business.
Wow.
I offer services for people, kind of a broad services like mobile nail trims for people, dog walking, training is a part of that, obviously, boarding, kitty cat care. I love all animals, horses, goats, things like that. So I kind of help with whatever I can.
Oh my God. I could cry at that right now. That is incredible.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
A powerhouse of a human.
Makes my heart whole, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I did that. But yes, I did graduate from PCC. I got a CVT, so Associates in Applied Science for Certified Veterinary Technology. I also have an Associates in Zoology and then an Associates in Business Management as well. So,
are you moving towards vet school? Are you on that trajectory? I'm getting a nod. No. I'm getting a little bit. Oh, I'm getting a no now.
You're like, I'm getting a little vibe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just kind of made the decision. I did a lot of shadowing with veterinarians.
Yeah.
And after working in the field for so long, I just realized with how many passions that I have, it just wouldn't make sense for me to go to school to be a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And, when you're a veterinarian, I feel like a lot of it, you have to kind of just be that, and focus on that and paying off your debts and, So I just decided this being a CVT allowed me to also do everything else that I'm extremely passionate about. Yeah. So that's kind of why I went that route.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you worked at a doggy daycare for a little bit.
I worked for 5 years.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I had originally started at a doggy daycare, did training, super one-on-one client stuff, and I got real burnout on that because the client relationship when it's on you all the time can get it. I love you guys, but it is, you wear their emotions sometimes and you see their confusion and things. So I then went back to a doggy daycare because I was I just kind of want to hang out with the dogs, but obviously my trainer brain came in and they moved me into training and everything. So I get to work with the dogs one-on-one, and then I do the coaching and everything, and it depends on the situation who gets more coaching and things. Some dogs do fine, and I send them the info, and it does great, but some dogs really need their people there. So is that where you kind of got into the training thing, or tell me how you segued into training as well as deciding to run your own biz and how you started to take those steps, because it's a difficult thing to launch.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So kind of how I started, definitely the doggy daycare was an inspiring thing for me to do. I learned a ton working there when it comes to breeds and what, specific breeds, their behaviors and things like that. And just, modifications or body language, things like that. And I think what really got me interested in training was about, my dog's about 6.5. So it's been about 6.5 years when I had got her.
Yeah.
And she's a Staffordshire Terrier Heeler mix.
Yeah.
And so she is kind of on the difficult breed spectrum just because she's a high energy dog. She's a working breed.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I will say it kind of started with her about 6.5 years ago. I was like, I'm going to make sure this dog is amazing and, has everything that she needs to be a successful good canine citizen.
That's awesome.
And so I think that's kind of where my interest really peaked. But then the doggy daycare just reiterated that for me, that this is an extreme passion and I should pursue it.
Yeah.
Especially having encouragement from clients and stuff saying like, you're really good at this. Like it's something that, like we love chatting with you about it. And I was like, I guess you're right. Why not?
Yeah.
And then after that, how the pet care business kind of formed, it was almost just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Just making these connections with people and with their pets and helping them better understand their dogs and cats, whatever it may be. But I just kind of realized, that it was something that I should probably pursue as well because it just kind of came to me,
The excitement, like surging from the screen is just, I'm so about it. I'm so about it. I love it. I love it.
I get goosebumps talking about it because I truly love it so much.
I know. And that's why I was just like, I started this because I was like, I want to talk about dogs with anybody who wants to talk about them with me. And I'm like, I'm geeking out on like, we're on a level right now.
I love it.
But getting back to like you learning about the breeds as well as like just kind of finding a rhythm in it, I really like, and I say this with the most love in my heart ever towards people who love animals, but I really believe there are some people who just have a very innate sense of the animal and a very innate sense of understanding. And I think like I definitely see that with you. And I think that makes it all the like more easier to communicate what's going on with their pet, what's going on with, what you need to do with their pet, because you it's kind of like being a translator between the person and the animal, because it's like you're just trying to help them understand what they're reading. And the way I put it to one of my clients one time was, she had a dog that was kind of like your usual dog. We'll call them normies, little normie paws, and they just are a cool dog. They chill. They don't have anything difficult. And then she had gotten a dog that was like a Pyrenees mix. He's real shy of things, like really slow to warm up. Have to do a lot of counter conditioning to everything. And counter conditioning is just getting the dog used to things that he is afraid of, making them more positive. So I just put it to her where it was like, where we understand her other dog, it's like her other dog speaks Spanish and he speaks French. And I'm trying to teach her that French with him, and then I like speak the Spanish with and it's like, and I don't know any of those languages, but it's just the context that I could put it in for helping people understand their dogs. So I love that. And I love that, you went with it. It wasn't like some people were telling you to like do this, and it is so much fun to learn like all the different dogs, all the different moods, all the different body language and things like that. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, just, when you notice that you can make a significant difference in a dog or, an owner's life, it's just like at that point, it's a no-brainer. Like you want to be involved.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the big thing for me that I struggle with is like I fall in love with the dogs. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
have a few clients where they like send me the pictures and they're like, your dog's doing this today. And it's like, I have especially one where we joke that it's like my dog. It's like an Akita and she's real not about anybody or anything. So we walk
Right.
her together and
Yep.
and she's just always going to be a no touch, don't look at this dog, like
Yep.
kind of thing.
Kind of a management situation
Yes.
versus yeah.
Yes. And so she calls her my dog, and I just like, God, I love them. And
Right.
I think that's where all that, again, coming together when you can see it make a difference in
Yes.
their lives together, and they start to
Right.
see the dog that I'm seeing or you're seeing
Yes.
in front of us. And it's like that magic moment where it all clicks between them. So, that's amazing. That's really, really amazing what you've done. And I love the mobile nail trimming because nail trims are the enemy of the dogs.
Oh my gosh, you're telling me, I know. And, it's all about, for me, when it comes to nail trims, making the dog the most comfortable as possible. It does not have to be a scary, crazy situation.
Yeah.
It should be something that takes 6 minutes to do. And, they should be wagging their tails after you're done.
Yeah.
And you can get your dog there. It's
Yeah.
just having the proper knowledge and techniques to do so.
So what's your protocol? Like, what's your, like, let's say you get someone who's like, my dog, they're bitey, they're responsive. What's your protocol with that dog?
So you said like Shorty, you said?
Yeah. She took a long time to get nails. Yeah, it's a one at a time thing with her. It's takes a lot of peanut butter, but we do it. And I do it when I need to. But yeah, go ahead. What's your protocol?
Yeah, I was gonna say it really depends on the situation. And depends on what is fearful for that dog, why that dog associates, the nail trim with something negative. So it really is kind of dependent on the individual case.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cases that I have ran into is that one, they just don't have them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So they literally are just so unaware of what's going on that they're just freaked out by it.
Yeah.
And, two, a lot of it is owners are trying to do it. They're freaked out. So the animals are feeding off of their energy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And, and then another part of it too, is I think that people don't know how to, I guess, essentially read their dog, and they quit too soon in some of the situations where they kind of just need to follow through with it and be like, hey, you are good, everything is fine, and then just kind of be like, we're gonna work through it, we're gonna do it. Obviously that depends. If you have an aggressive dog or a dog that's extremely fearful of nail trims, you go super slow, and work up to it. Muzzles may need to be involved in that situation,
and there's no shame in muzzles. Not at all.
Not at all. No, exactly. It is a very awesome tool that, if utilized appropriately, that can do wonders for dogs. And then the goal is to work up to not having to have that anymore. As soon as that fear is kind of taken out of that.
Yeah. And so touching on that, just, when you work with an area where the dog may be fearful, or you do have a dog who has a bite history in certain situations and it has been repeated, why you may be asked to put a muzzle on your dog keeps your dog from making another mistake that may be harmful to their life, depending on the dog's size as well as the circumstances. As well as if it's something as simple as you just need to do a nail trim and you're taking your dog to the vet and they need to place a muzzle, it really can just help those vet techs or those vets move through it efficiently and get your dog out of the situation faster with less stress on both ends. And I used to be big on I made sure Shorty was marked, that she was a bite dog and everything. If I was there, she was fine. But if someone were to take her, I knew how stressed she was, and I knew her ability to respond and where that window was. And I was like, I will place the muzzle because that's more comfortable for her, for me to
Right.
do it if I knew she was going to be taken in the back and messed with, rather than somebody strange placing a muzzle on her. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
very big, just like, if it needs to be done, go ahead and do it. It's going to keep everybody safe and
Right.
everybody feeling good through, obviously there's going to be that stressful moment of restriction,
Right.
but there's not going to be a response at
Right.
that. And if there
Exactly.
is,
The bite
everybody's safe.
factor is taken out because
Yes,
they can't utilize their teeth in that moment.
exactly.
And people also forget that, where it lays and stuff on their head, it's a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah,
It's also hitting pressure points on their head that can, release some pheromones that are a
yeah.
little anxiety to decrease a little bit of that anxiety
Yes,
too.
yes.
So,
So that's
good.
so amazing. So like like while that's really powerful, I'm sure you faced some struggles when
Oh yeah.
starting this stuff. And one of the things, you had reached out to me a little bit ago. You just shot me a note. You're like, hey, what do I do about
Mm-hmm.
clients who are just like not really on board? And we had a bit of
Right.
a discussion there. And so I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to hear your point of view on your experience through that, and like your frustration, and how, because we are just like trying to help you help your dog.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
when we get somebody who's just like, there's a lot of pushback, or there's a lot of just like, there's a lot of know-it-all kind of dialogue happening, which doesn't
Right.
happen too much anymore, I wouldn't say, to me. But when I was in my like younger trainer years, it happened a lot. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
was like
Mm-hmm.
how I operated, or how I just kind of was like reading everything so carefully, whereas now I can like, I see it and I'm like, I know what to do
Yeah.
here.
Right.
So tell me about your experience with that aspect of starting all this off.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing training sessions for people for probably like 5, maybe going on 6 years
Good.
now. It's definitely not my number one thing because I do have other services and stuff
Yeah.
that I do. But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard, honestly. Like I still struggle with it because it's
Yeah.
something that I really want to offer for people,
Yeah.
but I'm having a hard time deciding what's going to be better for me.
Yeah.
And because I have had quite a few clients that have an unusual expectation that
Mhm.
the dog trainer is going to come in and solve all of the problems.
Yeah.
And, from the get go, I'm always very upfront with my clients saying that I am not that type of trainer. I expect
Mhm.
a very hands on approach from the owners. I
Yeah.
want them to be involved and participate as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And that includes homework that I take a lot of time writing up, step by step, hand typed homeworks that when I come back in a week, I have some expectation that those are done.
Totally.
And it's unfortunate because I have had quite a few clients that just don't take it seriously
Yeah.
enough. And it's upsetting to me as a trainer because I can only do my job and make it extremely successful for the dog if they are also participating when I'm not there.
Yeah.
I can't live in their house. I can't be there 24/7.
Yeah.
And when I do all these homeworks, I lay it out very easily in bullet point,
Yeah.
so that they know exactly what they should be doing and by what time frame.
Yeah.
And it's really upsetting and a little heartbreaking that I get so much pushback because you think that people would reach out to you because they are serious
Yeah.
and committed, but I don't know that maybe they just don't realize that how much it is going to take and that it does need to be a significant priority in their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
yeah, and I totally relate to that, and I think it's a big part of something I discovered, and it is also why I start to love the pets so much, is because I am in like constant contact with my people. Like
Right.
whether or not I see them that day and work with them and their dog in that session, like I want them to know that I'm right there with them. Like it's not, I don't want to be like a trainer. I want to be like a partner in
Totally.
their like journey to have a better life with their dog. Like I'm there to coach, I'm there to assist, I'm there to get any helpful information possible. And I
Right.
just I have moments where like throughout the week, like the dog will pop up in my head and I'll just kind of be like check in, like, hey, how's it going?
Right.
Hey, but like you would with a friend who's kind of having a hard time, because we want to think like these dogs, like I see a lot of dogs who kind of they're having hard times. They're kind of the tougher kiddos. And and I keep them really engaged, but I do know that's one of the big things I kind of wanted to face here, is just like the accountability on the people's part. So I think what people think of when they think of a dog trainer, they're like, oh, this person knows how to fix dogs. Like the dog is a car or a computer. And these dogs are living, breathing individuals.
Yes.
Just like you and I are individuals, we are like no other human on this planet, but we are people.
Yes.
So we go see like a therapist or something like a physical, personal trainer, right? And that's someone who we would go see and pay for their service, and they would say, hey, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm reading, here's what I'm going to teach you to do. Especially in like the fitness world, I guess we could really relate it to that, because it's really, really similar. And they'd be like, all right, but you got to commit to see real change. Because it's like you just have that, it's training, but in two different realms. And it's like 80% is you, and then the 20% is like us coaching, checking in, making sure the motor skills are kind of flowing and going okay with everybody, and you giving like criticism back and forth, like not so much criticism, but just coaching, because it's a new skill that the people are learning as well as the dogs.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I've kind of started to discover in like this part of my career is like the understanding of the person's pet is like this whole other layer of training, because people get a dog and they're like, I need my dog trained because it's doing this and it's being crazy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, I can go and just be like, hey, stop that. Or like, do some doorway work. We're doing boundaries, doing walking work. But if we don't identify why, Sammie, are you there? Okay.
I got the light shut off.
But if we don't identify why these underlying behaviors are happening, and it's not to say that we need to go and be like, oh, the dog like lived in this home or was a part of a hoarding case. But if we don't identify the underlying emotion, I guess I would say, whether it's fear, excitability, overexcitement, if they are really agitated and pissed, like being able to read that stuff on your dog, you have to adjust your training from that. And again, coming back to like the individual, like each dog is such an individual, just like us, on how they deal with their emotions. And that's, again, like implementing the translator piece. But yeah, it's a huge thing for people to understand that dog training is not like we come in and we push a few buttons and fix it. It's a brain that we have to start to work and mold and build behaviors and help you stay up with that. So I get that frustration.
Your videos, which I just love the analogy you use, it's layers. There's layers to certain training, to certain obediences, to certain, things that they want for their dog. And, it may take multiple sessions or steps to get up to those layers, to get through those layers,
And I'm sure it's like, I was thinking about it today when I was working with a dog. I was working with this dog, and it just was one of those sessions where I walked out and my brain felt like amazing. It was just like, we got it. He's good. We're in it. And I really want to make a video about him, because he's just so, like, it just was, everything was just, it was good. And I was thinking about, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, I'll move on to like, so what are your methods? So you can probably see where I'm going with this one. So there are two big sides in the training world, and then there's like the middle ground, which I like to think I live in the middle.
I was going to say, I feel like that's where I consider myself too. I do call myself a balanced trainer. I'm very, like you said, right in the middle. I believe in positive reinforcement, definitely. But I also believe that there needs to be some disciplinary cues. There needs to be some accountability for your dog. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean shoving food in their face all the time. It
Yeah.
just doesn't solve all of the behavior things that we see for our canines.
Yeah. So what do you think and how do you feel about I would just call them, and I don't want to offend anybody in this process, but the extremists of the positive reinforcement? Because I do think there's extremists and they're labeled as balance trainers, but they're just like really hardcore old school, like
one more than the other. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely not a good place there either.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's terrifying about the positive and the force free and the trying to be like, that's the way to go no matter what. And they're trying to take away tools that can save lives. Like, what do you think about that? And like, what is your feeling operating? Like, if you do have to have a discussion with someone about prong collars and anything, like what goes through your head? How do you have that discussion?
Right. I mean, I think a lot of it is just educating people on the reasons why that may not be beneficial for that specific dog or that specific situation. Yeah. Like going back to the muzzle conversation, a lot of people, because of the media having muzzles on dog, it's making it a scary situation. They hate it. They don't like it, and then everyone just kind of falls gullible to all of those things that they see. And when really, if there's any research or any, education behind it, it's just not the case.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just making sure I'm properly educating each individual case onto why that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or, why this route's going to be better for their dog.
Yeah. And I love that. And it is like, I had a dog who came in and he had been worked on a prong collar. Like he came in and that was their like system at that time, leash and prong collar. And I just saw how upset it made him. And I was like, maybe we can try a gentle leader with him. And he just like awesome. Like he's a giant dog. He's a goofy dog. And he just needed like a little bit more, like it's all right. But then I have some dogs who are just like spitfires, and putting anything like a gentle leader on them is going to be like havoc on the owner, havoc on the dog. So then you put the prong on and they're just like, boom. I could think of cases that like when I put the prong on, it was like the dog was just stoked to understand anything. And it was just like everything fell into place for the dog. And it just like made their life better in that situation. But again, it's like, I think with the positive, force that's going on is they just think that we slap prong collars on dogs and start yanking them around and stuff. And it's like, holy crap.
No,
it's like we don't
actually a lot of before that people don't see.
Yeah.
A lot of, okay, let's put this muzzle on 50 times with food in my hand.
Yeah.
To acclimate them, to make it a positive experience.
Yeah.
So there is that balance between that.
Yeah. And I'm so glad, because I didn't know coming into this, I didn't know what your stance was, and I'm trying to like find that perspective of positive trainers, and I just want to hear like what is it, like what is the problem,
Right, exactly.
Is it because
I would love to hear from someone too,
and
like,
I think I have someone who will give a good perspective on it, but I don't know yet. I mean, we chatted briefly, and so I'm excited to talk to her and have her on. But it is a conversation I just want to have, because I want to know. Like, I need to know what's being said about me in my career. And maybe if there is a way, and I am doing it wrong for whatever reason, or maybe I just haven't seen enough, I'd love to know. But from what I have seen and experienced, that's not the case. And I had worked with someone who was passionately positive, and they were a pretty bad human being. It was a pretty bad situation that I had to walk away from because it was just like the things that were happening to the dogs for the sake of being right that they didn't need to use those tools. Like they were stepping on leashes all the way up to the collar of the dog while the dog was standing to get the dog to lay down. Like it was fucked up. It was so fucked up. And and it was like, anyway, but again, it was just like, it was one of those things where I was young and naive, and I just was like, it's weird to feel so passionately about something and feel like you finally felt your calling, and for people to tell you you're wrong or you're bad.
But that's the thing about dog training is, though, it does take time to build your confidence. Like it's like you almost have to be put in those situations to figure out what you truly want to do and to differentiate yourself as a trainer. Unfortunate that we have to see things like that, but for me, I take it as a learning experience because me as a trainer, I think I learn something new every day. I am always doing something to try to educate myself so that I can educate others better. And so, take all of those situations and just try to gain some knowledge from it. And,
that's such a good, I know. I just, oh God, when I think about those moments, it makes me so angry because I was like, man, should I have stepped in? Like, I knew it was wrong, and I was watching it happen, and I was like, this is awful. Like, that puppy is, like, gonna hurt itself trying to get away from you, and it was just so sad, but I'm sure that puppy's doing okay somewhere now, hopefully.
I know, and all we can hope is that, that those people are educating themselves better, hopefully, and, that they can do something more beneficial for our kiddos out there. And that's because maybe they were brand new and that's what they learned from somebody, and it took them a couple more years to be like, that's not what I wanted to do. So it's so hard with those situations.
And so what me and Sammie just kind of got totally on a tangent about is, in the training world, there is something called balance trainers, and there's something called positive reinforcement force-free trainers. And when done right, both sides of the field are awesome and used for amazing things. When done wrong, it's a very dangerous ecosystem, because you as a pet owner could be getting information that is simply just propaganda, and just trying to like boost somebody's ego to show you that they're right when they're not considering your dog or your situation or what may go wrong if you don't get the correct information. So, I mean, again, like we said, on both sides of the field, there's extremes, but there's kind of that middle ground, and I'm trying to grab as many people as I can into the middle ground from both positive and balance. Like, let's just like forget, let's cut the crap, and let's just be about the dogs in whatever way we can. And so that's what we were just kind of talking about, but we're going to kind of go deeper into that. So today I sent Sammie a video of me working with a dog, and we won't name the dog. We'll talk about his breed and everything and what went on. And I won't show the video just because I want to keep my client comfortable and protected, in the situation, and just on what I felt. So in the video, I'm working a dog. He is a large, breed. He's a pit bull, and he's a very active pit bull. And he has a very high trigger. He gets very excited when he hears other dogs, sees other dogs, smells other dogs. And I work in a doggy daycare facility where sometimes he comes to board with us, but he can't be in and around the other dogs. So our goal with him is just for him to be able to be kind of around the other dogs and be chill. In the first minute and a half of the video, I am working him on his basics in the like, I have a training room, and we're doing fine. It's just me and him. He's just on a slip lead. Then I take him out to a deeper part of the facility where he can hear dogs, he can see dogs in the window, and he starts to escalate. So with him just being on the slip lead, I don't have as much control or communication to him. So then I go back and I put him on a prong, which is what I do for a lot of my really reactive, high drive, large breed dogs. It's a typical thing I do at the office these days. And I put the prong on him. We work our basics in the training room to get him used to the pressure. And then I step out into that same area where he can see the dogs and hear them. And what starts to happen, in my feeling, what I was seeing, was he was understanding the boundary, but it was pissing him off. And he started to kind of just push back at me in a way where, for the first time in a long time, I was like, this is uncomfortable. I don't see this going well if I push him any harder, or if, I continue, and I stopped the session. So Sammie, what was your take, and breaking down just some of the moments of what you saw in that video? I'd love your feedback on it.
Yeah. So after watching the video, I obviously saw a lot of good things. He was really attentive to you for the most part. He has some focus, which I like to see. I think the big thing that I noticed as a trainer is I saw a very overstimulated dog.
Yeah.
So he was in an environment that was so stimulating for him that, like you said, he was starting to push back. He was starting to push back at you because it was too much going on.
Yeah.
So that was what I saw, a very stimulated dog that was, potentially going to make maybe not so great choices because there was so much stimulation going on, and it was too much for him.
Yeah.
From what I could see, body language and such in the video.
Yeah.
So, as a trainer, I know it can be hard depending on what facilities you work with and things like that, but he may be more of a dog that may need some work up to.
Yeah.
Like if there is maybe a more quieter room or something in that facility, and then working up to, a couple dogs barking or one dog barking and then, a couple more, or, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it perfectly does. And it was kind of my gut instinct too, where it was just like, he was going very in a primitive state. And I was worried that the boundary that I was applying to him would trigger him back towards me. And I was just like reading, like there's one part in the video where we're walking and he's doing what most dogs do when put on a prong collar. He's walking next to me and politely, but you could see the stiffness in his steps.
Yes.
And I could tell that it was like he was still building, even though it was composed.
Right.
And so, I agree that it was too stimulating, and I was too hopeful maybe in that moment.
Right.
And because when we're back in the room, he's like totally cool, totally just my boy.
Right. Exactly.
And what I saw was an animal when I took him out, and I was sad for myself, and I was sad for him, and I was sad. I did talk to the owner a lot about it, and I watched the video over and over and over again to make sure I wasn't like overthinking it. But I mean, it was kind of like there was something going on there, right?
Right. He was focusing on you, but he was unable to put full focus on you because he was so worried about what was either going to come through that door or if he was going to have to almost control the situation if something like that were to happen. He was almost on edge a little bit from what I could see. Yes, he was listening, he was following, but he was still on edge just a bit, And
that's what I think and that's what I think the importance of, like, when people would look at the situation, they would see it and be like, no, he's being good, he's walking, but there's this underlying just read on him that was just like, he's not okay with this. Like, he's doing good, but something in his brain is not chill about it. So I just I remember I like called it. I dropped the lead that was attached to the prong, and I just walked with the slip, and I put him away and was just like, I need to cool off from this, because I started to feel myself get
so you don't want that energy to feed off
exactly
on your that's not, I think you did the right thing.
Thank you.
Let's take a break.
Have you ever experienced anything like that? Have you ever been redirected on, or
I haven't. I mean, I guess maybe I have, but I was prepared for it because I knew that the dog had those issues, and so the dog was muzzled prior. We were working on those issues, things like that. So yes, it is. It is a lot of reading all these small little subtle things that the average person may not notice because they are small.
Yeah.
But the body language thing is such a huge important, factor in ear position, how they're panting, what their tail's doing. Like you said, their gait changes sometimes when they're unsure or nervous about stuff.
And again, it's like at some point you could teach these things, but sometimes it's just this innate like sense.
Yes.
And so I have been redirected on, and being redirected on is when a dog is overstimulated or active. I call it if they're engaging in something. I keep using these terms trying to describe what the terms are, but I know it probably makes no sense. So when I mean active, it means they're barking, they are pawing, they are trying to run towards something. Maybe they're lunging. Yeah. Jinxies.
Yay.
When I say engaged with something, it means like there's another dog or a person and they are doing those activities, barking, lunging, pulling towards that person that is also, or dog that's also engaged with them. Yeah. And then overstimulated is, as you can imagine, like very excitable, a lot of just like movement going on. If you get a dog in that state and you go to reach for them, it's a, I wouldn't say a common thing, but it is something that happens where the dog will turn and bite you. So I was fearful in this situation going on in this video, having a prior experience of that I was going to be redirected on. And due to the size of the pet I was working with, I knew it would be a very bad situation for both of us, because I never want to put a dog in that position where they feel they need to do that, because it could end badly. A bite history is not a good thing for a dog to have, as well as I was reading the room of what I had to protect myself, and that was just a really gnarly spot to be in. And so touching on that, like when we have these power breeds, these people get these dogs and they're just like, they just don't understand, what they were designed for. And yes, I do think like you can socialize and you could do all these things, but having the respect and the understanding and the responsibility to know what your dog is bred for is a huge deal. And and it is so sad the position it puts the dog in, when the people don't understand the animal that they have at the end of the leash at times. So what are your thoughts on how can someone be proactive to be responsible for the breed that they have, and what are the breeds that someone needs to be extra diligent about in your mind? As well as like it should be, well, I think training should be a requirement to have a dog at some point. People need to understand their pets, but the breeds especially that should have it. What do you think those are?
So things that I think people can do. One, please don't buy a puppy on a whim. Don't buy a puppy on a whim. Be prepared before you make a decision like that. I know how adorable they are and how it's so hard to say no sometimes, but they deserve better. Yeah. They deserve, owners that have actually prepared themselves for this situation and have done some research. Use your resources. Ask questions. Utilize the internet that we have so readily available. To research whether it be specific breeds or dog ownership in general. Yeah. It's serious business. Yeah. It's not just having an awesome fluffy pet running around. Like it's some serious commitment, because it's not just buying a dog and then letting them live their life. Like there's some serious steps and tools that you need to have a well-rounded family member, as well as a dog that's going to live and be a good canine citizen out in the public world. Yeah. So, those are things that I think people should be doing, is researching and using the resources, asking questions. And then when it comes to breeds, understanding those breeds, like you said, is so important. Working breeds in specific are extremely hard dogs to have, because people don't understand their ideology about the breed and how they get out their outlets and stuff, if that makes sense. Realizing that dogs like German Shepherds, Huskies, even pit bulls, even Staffordshire Terriers, healers, all of those dogs are meant to do a job.
Yeah.
And if you aren't getting that outlet, is going to be miserable for you.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of that outlet is exercise.
Yeah.
People don't realize that those breeds need hours of exercise to mentally get out that energy.
Yeah.
And then as well as mentally stimulating that dog.
Yeah.
So training plays a huge role in that, teaching them to wait for things and teaching them that, to mentally be calm and well.
Yeah.
It's just so important to keep them busy and keep them going.
Yeah.
They are not a breed to just hang out at the house and it's just not.
Yeah. And of course there's some like special cases, like I've met that super chill husky that's super slow and blah blah. But across the board in experience of working with animals, like you said when you worked at the doggy daycare, where you just can see certain breeds in their element of being active, the behaviors that start to display for some breeds are just super innate and super primal for what they were bred for. And understanding those things is going to help you apply a much more efficient training protocol with your dog, as well as help you shop for the proper trainer for that dog. And try to get guidance in a more appropriate way. So, I mean, I got lucky. I was like obsessed with dogs when I was a kid, and like one of these books I picked up from the bookstore was 140 breeds of dogs. And I think I was like 10 years old, and I just like carried that thing with me everywhere. And I would I'd look at the cute dogs, and I'd read what they were bred for and blah, blah. And like, I don't know if it was the age I was at when I read it or something, but now it's like I can see a dog from a mile away, or I can see even a mixed breed, or I could see some behaviors and stuff, and it's just like bing, this like light bulb goes off of and it's really funny. And then just like trying to talk to people about what it is, and especially when puppies are puppies, like they all act like puppies, let's get real, they're gonna be just cute and innocent and jump around, and they may be kind of extra bitey if they're a shepherd, or extra loud if they're a husky. But then there's going to come a point where they graduate into, again, the animal that they are. And I'm not saying like your dog is an animal, but like we need to be respectful of the genetic makeup and the biology of this creature, and we need to be aware of the things that could come up from that. And I one of my biggest pet peeves is when I hear they've never done it before, they've never done that before, or they won't bite, or and it's a young dog about like 7 to 8 months, and I was like, well, they haven't done it yet. And I'm not saying like they're going to grow up to do it, but it's just like sometimes you can see different trends and potentials happening, and you just have to try to educate as best you can. Like there's a possibility that could happen if you don't get your puppy to be under control for the size of the dog it's going to be. So that's one of the biggest. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think people also don't realize that, yes, our dogs are our babies. We love them. They're great, but they also are dogs. Yeah. And sometimes that primal instinct is going to take over, whether or not they've done it before or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes a dog is going to be a dog when they are put in a situation, and it just happens.
Yeah.
And, being aware that those things can happen can prevent a serious situation.
Yeah, and just being prepared and educated about it can help you make the proper moves. So we'll touch on a few of these kind of final things, and this is just, we're just like firing, like it's just so good. I know. So when it comes to educating people about the breeds and things like that, like it can be a sensitive thing for people to like and this is a discussion I was having with Dr. Brew. I think it was just like we have this like common sense now with all this knowledge that has come into our world, and that we've been flooded with experiences and seeing things, and we have this like common sense, and we things that make sense to us and are obvious to us are not
totally
to average pet parents.
Right.
So how
Exactly.
do you have that conversation, if it's a difficult conversation, trying to educate someone about like their breed and their dog, and that it may be a sticky situation than they can see, because like I'm sure other people would watch the video that I did, and again it was just like he's doing good, he's
Right.
wagging his tail,
Mm-hmm.
but they were
Mm-hmm.
wagging their tail is like a big thing that I hear, and it's
Right.
like, but they're
Right.
just aroused and
Mm-hmm.
overextended and getting all hyped. So like, how do you teach people to read these signs, or do you just kind of just move through it? What's your protocol there?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, a lot of the clients that I have a pretty good relationship with, a
Good.
long-standing relationship. So that does make things a little less uncomfortable if I
Yeah.
have to have an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is I just kind of try to slowly introduce things at a time, where I see, an issue, like say a boarding dog that I have over. I've
Mhm.
noticed some different habits or behaviors that they're
Mhm.
doing, and is when I drop them off or when I'm giving them their every other day pup updates,
Mhm.
I will mention in there like, hey, I did notice this and this and this. Let's talk about ways to work on this at home,
Yeah.
or things like that. And of course, it's going to be situational, case by case again,
Yeah.
like we've talked about this whole
Mhm.
time. But I haven't really had to do it, I guess, for people that I don't have a longer relationship with.
Mhm.
A lot of my training clients come from they start as something and then they kind of turn into
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Like
So
everybody needs a trainer. I think they just don't invest in the training, and it's like, but it'll change your world and your life if
yeah,
you let it.
yes.
Sorry, but go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I think that was it. Did I have another question to answer?
Just know that's good. Yeah, it's being comfortable with people, and I think that's one thing that I have got. I noticed it with some of the younger trainers. They wanted to, which is good, kind of overperform their knowledge, which is like
Right.
that comes in time, and that comes with your
Yes.
confidence and just being able to
Yes.
be like, I see this point
Right.
blank, and just being real upfront about it. But I get when you haven't had the experience, you kind of question it as well. So there's a like clashing mindset there. But like it just being able to be cool with your clients, and I think that's
Right.
another thing that maybe we could talk about another time, is like, as much as your clients are shopping for you, you also kind of shop clients. Like
Yes.
I
Totally.
have a like system of, if someone's called me and they want to talk about their dog, we'll talk about their dog. I set up a training consultation and see how it goes, and then I send them a video, and then if they like are like, oh cool, like set up training, and I'm like, cool, I could get you on the schedule, and I try to
Right.
schedule them, and then I send a reminder. Again, it's like a lot of accountability follow up,
Oh yeah.
and then they don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is such a huge slap in the face.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yep.
here I was taking all, like, just all these steps to set you up for success, because I know how impactful it could be. And then to, like because I'm just the dog trainer,
Right.
to just be like, oh, oh, we forgot, or like just didn't set. And I,
It.
I tend to be like, all right, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but if it happens again, not my client. Like I have a very
Right.
like not my client thing, as well
Mm-hmm.
as just some people who are mean to their dog. Like that's such a thing
Right.
for me, where I'm just like, if you're just going to be mean to your dog because you don't understand, like at least
Yes.
try to get some understanding and then make a decision. But if you just start pushing back and pushing back, I'm like, I just, I'll refer you out, because it's hard for me to see the dog in distress and being so misunderstood. And
Yep.
so those are kind of big things for me. But I mean, they're probably similar. Do you have any situations where you're just like, hey, I can't with this one, like I can't help
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Definitely. And a lot of it for me came down to participation, where they'd be so into it for a certain period of time. And
Yeah.
then because life gets busy and,
Yeah.
kids are a lot and there's a lot going on, it was like the dogs just got slipped through the cracks or put on the back
Yeah.
burner. And so for me, I would have to move on as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was always, you know, when I had to do those situations, it always ended well, and it was a mutual understanding between me and the client, because I really try to express the reasons why, you know, that I'm feeling frustrated. And the nice thing is, when it has happened, they've also felt that they weren't doing their part.
Yeah.
And they weren't ready in their moment of their life to put their dog first.
Yeah. And it so is similar to like health and fitness. And like, you know, if you think about someone struggling with even substance abuse, which I've known people in my life like that, if they're not ready to do it, they're not going to do it. Like the idea is really nice. The idea to get healthy and to like, you know, go to the gym and lose weight, or the idea to like get clean or whatever. But if they are not ready, it just, you cannot make it happen for them. And I think that's a really, really good thing for you, that you just were able to be like, hey, you know, I'm stepping back. And but on the counter, go ahead.
Being in the field for this long, I mean, you do gain some confidence in how to communicate with people. So I think that's really what's helped me, just being a confident person in general, and just being able to kind of stay calm and collected and express how I feel in a manner that, you know, doesn't come across so defensive, I guess, or so, you know, offending.
Yes.
You know, just learning how to verbalize things in a way that, you know, comes across just even keeled.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so proud of you. And do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So, I mean, dog trainer to dog trainer. I know how, like, I would answer these questions as a dog trainer.
Yeah,
but
I love that.
Like I said, I think there's always room for learning, and I love hearing other perspectives on things and how other trainers address things with their clients, so that I can better myself in any way possible. My first question for you is, what or how do you address clients that come to you for like submissive and excited urination?
It's definitely like a workaround there. So there's a few things. So like, I'll give the latest example. This one puppy that comes into my daycare, she has like pretty chronic excited urination. And it is something that I dealt with Shorty. Shorty, I know to this day, if I went to work and I left her for the day, which I don't because I work at a doggy daycare, she comes with me. But let's say I left for the day. And if I came back and I was like, Shorty, like, oh, she's like, what the fuck? And I went to just like pet her and you know, go, she would pee because it's part of her just behavior. It's part of her as an individual dog. So no matter what, for her right now, every time when I come home, if I were gone for a while, I say, Shorty, and I say, Shorty, go potty. And I don't want her to get up and do it. But she understands that. And so we go out, she goes, and then we come back in, and then I get to say hi. But what I would say to the person who has the puppy, like the one that was at the daycare, okay, so you do have to have a treat. Your dog should be food motivated. It does happen a lot with puppies for the most part. A big part of it is your read on when you start to reach down. So if you go for the reach down and the dog starts to do one of these, then you don't engage. You disengage. Maybe you give a let's go or this way cue and you start walking. And then I would ask for a sit. I would tell them good, very point blankly. If they don't know sit, I would try to lure for the sit. Again, if you went to go reach with the food lure and they start to do one of their like, yay, then again, disengage. You pretty much want to, it's like when you're shaking a soda and you go to open it, you don't just open the can. You don't just reach for the dog that's submissive peeing because they're going to. You kind of have to like a little bit at a time. So if you need to take the dog out to go potty, and I have a leash right here, so I'm going to demo it, and you have one of these regular leashes and you're like, oh, but I have to reach to get the leash on the dog. Oh no. She heard. I'm going to set the mic down really fast and demo this really fast, and my dog's going to be heartbroken because she thinks she's going potty.
Her tail's wagging so fast.
Oh my God. So just prefacing what I'm about to do. if you feel that you cannot reach for the dog's collar to put this part on the dog, this is what you're going to do. You're not going to talk to the dog, but you're going to get your leash and you're going to do this. Hold on. Shorty, come up. Come on. So I have my leash, and most leashes have this handle. I'm going to make a slip lead, okay? So now I have this big loop that if I put it on my dog without reaching towards her, I can get her, my lovely model, on a lead and then take her outside to go potty, okay? And then once she's gone potty, then I can reach for her and tell her she's a good girl. So that would be my protocol for the dog that needs to go out, that people don't need to reach for. If your dog is in a crate, just try to see that they know sit really good, and then I would call them out of the crate, ask them to sit, put the slip lead on. It's a process. It's not like that whole situation is going to fix it, but it is going to diffuse it. Just make sure my phone number's not showing. And I think it's over time, once your dog gets the routine of when you pick up the leash, it's all business. It's we're putting on the leash, we're going outside to go potty. And that's what I've done with her. And that's why when I picked up the leash, she was like, all right, let's boogie. But we've still got a few more minutes. Yeah, so that's what I would do there and just start from there.
Cool.
But
that sounds good.
There's gonna be some accidents and things, and that's just part of having a puppy. And yeah.
Yep, exactly. I mean, even adult dogs that struggle with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, if it started in puppyhood and it just kind of, they either never grew out of it, because there are some dogs that grow out of those things. But I agree, it is a process, and it you know, has to start somewhere. Let's see. So my other question here is, are you familiar with assertive dominance? And if so, do you have any, advice on a dog that may be assertive dominant?
Is that just like dominance in general? Like they're pushing back at you? I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
It's just, I've been trying to research it a little bit, because I do deal with a dog who absolutely wonderful. I mean, gets along with everybody, super friendly, easygoing, but has a tendency to kind of assert dominance in a way where, almost like in situations where she feels like she's not being the lead, or maybe not in control, or what. But it's something that I'm struggling to understand as a trainer as well, because she does do so well that I'm kind of confused.
What does she do? How does it display? Like what is your read on it when you start to get that sense?
So, I mean, like, say, let's see here. I'm trying to give you a good example here. I mean, I guess it could be stimulating environment. So during play, for example, when, you know, obviously it gets too rowdy or whatever, but say it's a dog that, you know, there's never been any issues prior, if that makes sense.
How old is she?
There's just one day, 6.
Okay.
6.
And how long have they had her?
I believe her whole life.
Okay. So continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then another example would be, let's see, trying to think. I'm blanking on specific examples right now. But, but just a dog that it almost seems like, you know, if she's not in lead, like she wants to almost police the situation. Or, you know, if she feels like she's not in that lead situation, she has to react or correct the dog for whatever they're doing.
And this is just in play?
Or if they're, you know, if there's a really excited dog, you know, kind of coming up and there's too much face interaction or something, it will be, you know, a good little while, but then there will be, you know, a snap or something like that.
So she's just, her play style, does she play with other dogs? Does she do?
Very well.
Okay.
I mean, small, big, large, very well. But there's just certain either energies or certain situations that she just feels the need to overcorrect almost.
And what kind of dog is it? How big is she?
A Staffordshire Terrier.
Okay.
And probably about 50 pounds.
So does she go up and just like tag the dog from behind? Does she do a tag?
No.
She postures?
Nope.
What does she do? Like, does she go stand up or does she just go right up to the face?
Nope. She doesn't even do that. That's the thing. It's when other dogs are coming up to her face. Mm-hmm. So she's pretty polite and has manners when it comes to, reading the other dog's energy and stuff. But so that's why I'm so confused.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to gauge, like, without seeing it, the other dog comes up to her face and then does she snap at them? Or does she just seem mad or...
She will warn.
Okay. Does she do like the teeth?
A few times.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Does she do like the teeth? Like she raises her teeth or does she growl?
Yeah. She'll growl and then she will do, a snarl with her lips up. If the other dog isn't reading the situation, and then if it escalates after that, she will snap. Of course, I'm intervening before those moments, but I'm just trying to better understand her as a dog, and she's just a little confusing for me because she is so obedient and so with. Mm-hmm.
So again, getting back to like dogs as an individual, it doesn't sound like to me that it's like any sort of like aggression or like a dominance thing. It sounds like she's just kind of like, yo, this sucks. Like, get out of my face. And you're more than welcome to take a video for me if it's happening and just let me see. Because again, it's really hard to read through description what's going on. I know. But, I mean, I would say, like, she's just kind of saying, like, hey, I've had enough, and maybe you could just put her away for a timeout. And I'm sure, like, the thing with daycares, too, that's hard for people to understand is, like, sometimes there's behaviors that just really aren't okay in a daycare setting because you don't... It is kind of like a little bit of Russian roulette that's going on with all the different dogs and personalities in there. So if you have a bit of a wild card that could set things off, you gotta cut them. Like, they can't be in the room because it puts all the other dogs as well as themselves in jeopardy. So that's why when you have a dog that goes to daycare that maybe you're just trying to have these conversations of things that go on, like, understand, like, it, like, a play setting is not sometimes the best thing for all dogs. So, I mean, I don't know if it doesn't sound like it's to the severity of that for her. You just really have to watch. It sounds like she's just like certain dogs. She's like, no, I don't want to play with you. She's kind of being a little Regina Georgie, and making a Mean Girls reference for anybody who doesn't know. She's like, you can't sit with us. And I mean, I would just send me a video and I'll really, really take a look at it. But it doesn't sound like there's like a dominance thing going on. Like, dominance is usually when you're like, you could see it when you're like doing walks and doing basic obedience and there's like definite defiancy between the human dog relationship, and sometimes maybe that displays differently in the dog setting. But to me, it sounds like she's just a little like, she's not about the other dog coming up to her. And she's just trying to, she's warning, which is good. She's not just reacting. Yeah. And she's not going for a bite. She's just snapping. She's like, hey, step off, which is fine.
There has been contact, though, and that's what, So she will, if the dog is close enough, she will make like a nipping contact.
Yeah.
Which, is why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and so has there been a blood draw? Like, has she drawn blood, or?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But it's been, like a significant, like, graze or, like, but yeah.
And again, she's just given a really stern warning. Like, you just want to make sure you prevent her from really making a mistake where she feels like she does need to put that extra pressure on a dog, because she's regulating her pressure. If there's not blood drawn, she's regulating her pressure, and she's regulating, like, just telling the dog off. Yes, she's being stern about it, but it's all about, like, she's not doing anything wrong. She's communicating. Okay. And it's just about when she is communicating that, helping her self-regulate. So again, putting her away, letting her defuse, but realize that with that knowledge, it's not to say that things can't go wrong very fast with that behavior.
Right.
But I do not, from
Yes.
what it sounds like, I do not think it's a dominance thing. But again, send me a video and we'll look at it. So, yeah, that would be my feedback on that.
I guess the only reason why I used that term was because I just felt like she was trying to be, maybe dominance was the wrong word to use, but just trying to be that lead of that situation.
Yeah.
You know,
and
I want to be in control, and I want to tell you that I'm in control. You know?
Yeah. And, you know, just again, it's so hard without seeing it, but Shorty does policing. She polices. So when she's hanging out at the daycare and there's puppies that come up or if they're getting all crazy, you know, she'll vocalize, she'll be like, hey, cut it out, you whippersnappers. Right. And, but then she'll go back to sleep. Like, she really doesn't care about the other dogs. She just kind of chills, but she's very like the grandma of the bunch. She's like, hey, you kids, settle down over there. And, you know, it's just like, Shorty, cool it, like, you're fine.
Right.
She's so mad about the leash situation right now.
No, she's like,
any other questions?
But yeah, I just have one more that I think that would be nice for people to hear during this time.
Yeah.
Do you have any creative ways for people to socialize during a pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, like, oh God, okay. Car rides might be one.
Right.
If your dog doesn't like the car, just go hang out in your front yard. Don't let people pet your dog or touch your dog. But the thing is I think we focus so much on like walks and taking them out to stuff and things like that. But like sometimes if you just go perch in your yard, enough strange things will kind of come cruising by, or they'll see, and you could work your leave-its, you could work your heel in your yard. If you live in an apartment complex or situation, just go sit out at the end of the block. Like, you can't, you know, wear your mask and don't, you know, people are going to be excited to see you and your dog, but just kind of take them out, but don't like go too far. You don't have to go leaps and bounds to socialize. Even if you're just doing that little bit of practice. I saw a really bad wave of the puppies who were just inside, like it was here in LA when it rains, like we bunker down like it's the apocalypse. We don't go out there. I don't. I'm like scarred from Portland, so whenever I hear the rain, I'm like triggered. But
I know, I remember you mentioning that when you lived there. Like,
I hate it. It's everywhere. It's all over me. But I like when it rains, people bunker down inside. And I noticed with the pandemic, like a lot of people got dogs, a lot of people got puppies. And then they were just like, oh, I can't go anywhere. So I'm just going to like sit inside with my dog. And the dog became like this life in a box. And then when they stepped outside, there was this huge fear of everything and every sound. So just get your dog around stuff, around anything. Go stand on your sidewalk and just ask your dog to sit, ask your dog to lay down, ask your dog to do a hand target. Like, just work basic obedience outside. And it's kind of just... but you know, you're not going to be going to Starbucks, sitting on the patio and stuff like that. But even if you do your basic obedience in an outside setting, you're a lot further along than a lot of people, honestly. So, I mean, that would just be my recommendation. Just
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that there's different levels when it comes to socialization. You
Yeah,
know,
for
like
sure.
not all socialization is playing with dogs and having people pet your dogs. It's just physically being around people.
I kind of call it coping. Like it's a coping thing. You're coping with sounds and you're coping with sensations in the environment and being able to be mannered. That is what a well socialized dog is. You see it a lot with dogs of the homeless population. So we see that those dogs are really stable. They're really calm, cool, and collected. They're not reacting. And it's because they're constantly exposed to things and just desensitized to it. So they're just like, oh, okay, cool. We're getting on a bus. Like, I guess so. And they're chilling. So yeah, the last thing I have for you, Sammie, is always kind of something generally I end on, but what do you want the general public to know about your job that's going to help you better help their pets?
Right. I think, a big one for me is just remembering that having a dog is a serious commitment, remembering to do your research, ask your questions, prepare yourself and your family for that new companion that's going to come along, you know, reaching out to a trainer when you are actually and completely committed and ready to make a difference and a change in your dog. Yeah. Because we as trainers cannot do our job unless you are ready and prepared for that. Nice. You know, consistency is key, and holding your dog accountable is also a big player. Yeah. You know, so I just, those are my main things that I love for people to know and understand, because that can better help us do our job.
Yeah. So Sammie, do you have like a page that people can follow, or do you have like for your services, or are you promoting that?
I have an Instagram and a Facebook. I don't have a website at this time, just because
websites are kind of obsolete. Like if you have, it's just, why pay that extra money? Yes, I feel you there. Exactly. The social media is where it's at for now.
I think the same thing. Yep. So social media I'm on. I will be honest, I have been terrible at posting to my Instagram. Yeah. So my apologies. Maybe one day I'll get better. But my main focus is remodeling my house right now. So a little bit on the back burner. Yeah. But I'm having fun with all the kiddos, and all their parents get photos. So
cool. So where can they find you on Instagram and Facebook? What is it called?
Let me get my
and also, if you follow my page, I'm going to be starting to post a lot more content, just dog training, videos, all that stuff. So if you want, like, get inspired and we'll share and just kind of collab on stuff there, that'll be fun.
For sure. Yeah. That would be absolutely awesome. I could literally talk about this all day, every day. Yeah, so
I know. That sounds awesome. So just let us know your Instagram.
My Instagram is Sammie's Pet Care, and then my Facebook, because it was taken, is Pet Care by Sammie. Aww. So they're a little bit different, but
so sweet. Well, Sammie, I hope this talk was as just like inspiring for you as it was for me. You are an amazing individual, and I'm so happy to know you and know your commitment to the scene and the community, and I just hope people really sense your passion, and I'm so proud of you. So keep doing what you're doing, and keep just killing it. And we'll definitely have another ambitious chat sometime soon, okay?
Yes.
All right, guys.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm going to let Sammie go. What's that? One more time?
I said, you're just as awesome.
I try. I'm doing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm doing my damnedest. But yeah, so you guys, I'm going to let Sammie go ahead and get some rest. I'm sure we've both had very, very long days. But let's thank her down in the comments below for being on, and I will link all her socials and connect you guys if you needed more information on nail trims and muzzles. Definitely one of the right people to ask about it. So Sammie, good night, and I will talk to you soon.
Good night. Talk to you later. Bye, Shorty.